Welcome to the channel. This is Reliable Rudy. Getting a couple things set up in the off monitor, and then we'll go into our intro. Got a new name today. As you guys know, I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Everything in this live stream is me simply sharing my opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm just a guy sharing his opinion, doing what he loves to do. We're going to have some talk on some trades. We're going to have some talk on some investing. Two different things. Trading and investing is two completely different things. I try to mix in both. But obviously the trading can be a little bit flashier. And we've had some flashy ones over the last few live streams, which is, it's fun. It's fun to watch stuff just kind of rip to the upside. NVOS has been a name. It catches the title today. But just switching over there, I mean, a pretty beautiful ascending channel that respected it a couple times. And it does have some resistance built up in here in these middle 30s. We had multiple alerts that got triggered early. We're like, man, do we just keep holding or do we try to reload this sort of trend line that's holding right here? Uh, excuse me. But I think if this next one does trigger, we are going to think about an exit of the position. I mean, you can't complain from 1870 is what the average is after the trims. Still holding 45%. ICCT now officially went in the red. We took a small fill right at the end of this candle. We thought that, hey, this volume's increasing. It does have a wick top of selling. But we think that this has some potential. 6 minutes left. We think that this candle can still turn green. We're not going to add any more into it. I mean, this one could easily pull back into this red move. So this is why it's a smaller fill. And we think that the potential move for it could make a run for this gap. But our fill at 1918, it was looking good. I was thinking about just cutting it as it was making a push since we only had a small fill. But now that it's back in, we'll give it a chance. I'm just going to set in a word on this 9 break. We'll hold it against us a little bit, and we'll think about averaging in top of that previous candle. I'm out of alerts, which kind of sucks because I can't throw ICCT on the watch because TradingView is dumb, and they actually capped the amount of tickers I could have on the watch at 250. 250 in the watch. We deleted like 50 or 46 tickers, thinking that, oh, I can delete some and add some back on. But no, 609 is the cap that we have on this. We still think that this volume can show some good volume and increase and show a good green candle here. So kind of in that middle ground of the position. It does have 2 candle moves with a wick of selling. Does this need to pull back into like 850s? Maybe it does. Maybe it does, but NVAX, we were really thinking about taking a piece around these 950s. We didn't take anything off of 9s yesterday. It came back up to 9s. We still didn't take anything off of 9s. And now it's up at 950s, and we're still being greedy. We think that if this really wants to get going, like if it could find a way to just keep taking out the highs, obviously saying that sounds a little bit better, but up here around this 10 is the area we really wanted to trim in the first place. If you just mark this is a 970, which it tried to get up there, but that 200 day, we looked at it yesterday, rolling in around, what is it, 36 is what it's at today. So it's trying to hold above it right now. It's a strong name. We're in that overbought area. Good volume yesterday. We think that we can hold. A newer long position. You can call it a swing. You can call it a long. I'd look at this company as more of a long term, simply just because the margins are so good. They're using that free cash flow to buy back ADRs, buy back shares. I mean, when I start hearing that, it's music to my ears. And this trend line, I mean, this is what would make it a swing trade, is that you're playing this trend line that has just been monstrous. And now it's starting to catch a bid. Some of these China names, I mean, looking at Baba's still sitting in the green. You look at your NQ, your SPY, your Dow, they're all in the red. So I would say that there is some strength in that industry, and the indexes being red could play a wrench into the into some of the longs or some of the swings, but obviously there's some that are trading down, end phase trading down. Uh, Very excited to see this down. I want to see this kind of actually break down. You know, it might sound weird, but I am really interested in picking up more shares at end phase. ICCT, you can see more of the daily looks. You know, I'm big on these volume increases, these nice moves to the upside, and then you got 1, 2, 3. Now, candle number 3, what happens after that candle number 3? You could still call this part of the move because it still sets highs. So 1, 2, this could be candle number 3, but that volume is picking up already. And you get the gap up, it might have to come back in, but if it can give us this gap fill up here, that is all we'll be looking for. So trying to hold 9s, we're going to keep our eyes on it and see where it goes from there. Soundhound, we actually added to the Soundhound a little bit yesterday. You guys know I like this 3 candle pullback. I was looking for a gap up. It tried to push this sort of downtrend, gets as high as 254, and now coming back into those low 40s. So do we need to see this kind of follow this channel, follow this sort of trend line? And I still think it's a reasonable as long as it's holding that trend line. NVAX giving up, wicking up to that, so this could potentially be uh, the top of the day, but still gonna give it this previous high move right there. We're gonna move this alert up to like 20s, which is that previous high. So we'll see how that looks. ICCT, we're gonna look back, still sitting at 912s. The 15-minute really giving that feel like, hey, we could pull back. We only took a small fill, so I mean, if we have to hold a piece kind of into this green move, it's giving you that feel like it is gonna have to come back down into this range. But I do like, you know, if I was mapping out, this 825s could be a part where we could average in more. And we're going to play this more for the daily candle instead of this 15. So we're going to take a little hit against us short term. But like we said, just a small position. GTX. I gave that move. That 1080 has really been that level that we want to see just convincingly break over. It had a false wick. It claimed it. It tried to reclaim it again. It rejects it a couple times to the downside. We did average in off 57s. We didn't try the trend line that we had more so set like this yesterday. We said, hey, it's gapping down below. Well, now we got a little bit of adjustment, pulled it back down in a little bit with these wicks as it's holding it. So that's what we're going to be looking for right there. So we did average in a little bit, and we do have an alert set. If this wants to test 1050 and break it down, we're probably just going to cut it. ICCT trading in these 8s. Is it going to be able to hold this previous top right here? It could be one that I just maybe rushed into a little bit, potentially, but I still like this daily candle, and if it can show some strength and get back up to the highs of the move, we think that it could be something that pans out. So we're not gonna make any rash decisions with this one. But Soundhound, going over the Soundhound, you can see this sort of trend line that we have set. Is it going to be able to hold this? We can give it a little bit of leeway, just kind of making sure we got the bottom wicks right there. If this wants to start giving up into those 30s, I don't know if it can be looked at so much. I would say you have a descending channel that's pretty clean descending channel that's trying to follow. So let's see it deviate and just hold this uptrend is what we're going to be looking for. Other than that, what other names do we have on there? NVOS. NVOS still hasn't triggered. Uh, where is NVOS? There it is. Still kind of just hovering sideways. If this can find a way to reclaim 30s, maybe it's a catalyst for a push higher. So until this kind of just picks a direction, we're either going to get out of this day. You know, we made the mistake in saying that, hey, we can hold a piece for the dream and hold it back into the level. Well, if we end up getting stopped out, we can maybe think about reloading it more down here. Uh, but we are going to give it a chance. We're not going to rush out of this. This is an ugly red candle, kind of discrediting this bull flag at the increased volume, decreasing. You see that stair step look right there. But now trying to continue hold this trend line. It's a decent look. ICCT. You know, I would like to just see decreasing volume. If we can average in more of it down here, you know, that would be holding it almost a whole dollar against us, but As long as we're right in our conviction at the end of the move, we think it is possible that we can make a run up. You know, it's set to close up here at 1250s. If we can get a 1250 move, that would be a significant move. But now trying to turn this into a green candle, not too much volume coming in off this candle, so it is nice to see the decreasing volume if I am looking at it as a pullback type of play. Looking at Sound Down, still trying to hold these 40s. We're not gonna get too anxious with that play. We know that this is going to have some stuff to work out still. Anytime you see these descending channels, you know, right here, I was acting pretty bullish and saying, hey, we think that we can push this. Even at the end of the day yesterday, before we went into work, we're like, hey, I mean, Sound Down, if it closes above this and tries to make a push, we know that the where we want this to break is at 270, which is over top of these highs. If we can get that 270 break, we really like the catalyst for a 291, and that's what we're going to be looking for. NVAX pullback candle, it does have a bit of increased volume as it's testing up to that 970. Uh, and let's just clear out this whole chart. Let's just look at a clean chart here. You can see the bull flag kind of continuing to pan out. Is this going to be something that's able to break? But when I see red candles like this with a wick top, it gives me the feel like, hey, if there's more selling pressure, which you can see it start to wick, if there's more selling pressure, you get these stair step actions. Where if that stair step action doesn't have buyers off this previous high called a 920, then you could see it just boom, give that flush right through the level, and we might even have to come back down and just see if this is some sort of trend that it was trying to hold. So I mean, your downside risk retested that 860, that 860 break yesterday was very good. It kind of false gave up, didn't quite retest the neckline, but when it reclaimed 860 again, boom, it just reset the trend for the upside. So we like the way NVAX was really looking. ICCT, we like the decreasing volume indecision candle. If it keeps pulling back down, you know, you can see the red candle and the selling pressure in that candle. So if this next candle comes in and boom, red engulfing right down the 8, this is going to be that area that we're going to look to add. And I see NVAX trying to reclaim those 950s. But aside from that, I'd say oil, you know, is respectably strong still. I would say probably can keep oil on that bull train. As you can see, it's just got an ascending channel as it's building up this range too, which, you know, we like when we can move these channels and move them in the direction to the upside. Because all it takes is the buyers to hold it in there, and before you know it, boom. That's what, a lot of times when you see these ascending channels, when you get those green candle moves through the top end of it. And this isn't perfectly set by any means. I was just kind of giving you the example of part of how it's looking. But NVOS trying to hold 29s right now, so as long as this is in the channel, which, you know, the longer the candles move up, the more that channel is going to move up. Is it going to be able to move up with it? It is possible that we can adjust this channel if we just go through those wicks. This is why this out down here, if it does trigger and continues to the downside, it's going to be an easy just sell for us to get out of the name, in my humble opinion. So we'll see how that ends up panning out. Let's go back to this ICCT. I see TGTX, a nice 2 green candle move off of this gap down and wicking into this trend line. So a nice little add to the name. And we actually averaged down a little bit on this add. So if this is able to, it probably has some sort of, you know, that look right there alone looks like we could be breaking something. So looking at the daily candle for this, take a look. You can see the sort of flat top that's built, and this is right near the start of the gap. So you can see these wicks are going up towards that 1150, 1175. If we get this 1080 break that we're really looking for, you can see the wicks pressuring up to that range. If this is able to continue this U build, we think over top, if you look at this as a retracement to the upside, a nice 618 hold. You look at it as a retracement to the downside, 518 hold. 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 518 hold It's rejecting the half. So if we get this 11 break, we think that we can continue getting this churn to the upside, where we'll look for first trims on the name up here, which isn't the greatest move, but still we are going to respect the range in case we have some sort of downtrend meeting in like this. You can see where that 702 or that 618, maybe even the 786 could see some type of resistance. NVAX, wow, nice move back through 950. So we're just gonna stick bullish with this. If this wants to churn higher above that 200 day, this could really get going. Where you could see some exhaustive moves testing. You see the flat bottom break here, boom. We don't have a retest of 15s. That would be an extraordinary move. And you have the gap fill up at 1750. Well, it's going to have some stuff to work through, of course. I mean, you got some resistance built up here at 10. You have these tops up here at 12. So we'll play it respectably as as the position kind of plays out. So back to ICCT. Let's see how far out of the money we are now. 9:30. We're actually in the money, kind of surprisingly. But you can see taking out the entirety of that red candle. Is this going to be a continuation move? So had I had my eyes on it, I don't think I would have averaged anything in this move. There's nothing that would have said, "Hey, let's average some in," aside from this volume increase. That is all that I would have said, and how it was holding the first candle. That's the only thing that would have probably got me to buy more. But we're just going to sit tight and just see how this goes. If our small position catches a bid up to, this 1170 or 1250, I mean, even if though it's a small position, that'd be over $3 a share. Extraordinary move. So we'll see if this wants to pan out. You can see how, normally if I would have size on this type of position, you would see my eyes glued to it, especially if I thought it was going to pull back into eights. But that just goes to show the probably could have had a little more size tried around this, but this volume, I really like that little setup. So just getting a market fill somewhere in here was part of the plan, and it's still not out of the woods yet. You can see the wick still wicking lower. ATHM breaking this, excuse me. ATHM kind of breaking this first sort of downtrend that we have. Let's just clear out everything. I mean, I think you guys can see this just on that 15, the trend, how monstrous this is. This only goes back to May. Switch this over to a daily, take that same trend and just pull it all the way through this. Man, this is a beautiful setup. And actually looking at our strength, we have some just really choppy. And if this can give us a solidified move over top of this positive break, that positive break is actually going to be our neckline break. You can see that little flat top that's built right here. Over 30.75, we really think that this name can catch a bid. And if it does start catching a bid, 33.50 probably has some resistance built in right here. If you look at it as a retracement, retracement back up into these 32 seems reasonable. You could even probably say it has some resistance built in here. But if it starts playing the course, you get this positive break and influx of volume. It's kind of been picking up as we were pulling in and testing this trend line. I wouldn't be surprised to see this name catch an even higher bid, where this could be breakout levels, where if the price gets over it, you're going to have an influx of buying pressure to keep pushing it higher. And if you look at this trend line and look at this as a potential channel, I mean, it's a slippery slope for the shorts, where we could see upside potential up to that 50 plus percent. And yeah, just a really fundamentally sound company that we like. 80 plus percent margins, operates at over 20%. They're buying back shares with their free cash flow. We like these types of companies for the long. Soundhound still holding these 240s. This is flirting with that range of, is this going to be some sort of trend that can hold? We have a mess of resistance that's trying to act. A lot of price action in this range. Is that going to be something that can hold and catch a bid? We're pretty convinced that 270 is going to be that break that we're looking for. So we will see how that ends up playing out. I'd say Geo. I didn't even notice this, but Geo 750. It has some false wicks above it, so maybe it needs to reject and find some comfort zone in the middle of this green move. But holding positive, had a pullback day here, didn't act much, tried to push, and then this wick low coming back into 710, getting bought up real quick. This could be a catalyst for if it gets over 750. I wouldn't be surprised to see this as some sort of retracement. You can see we rejected 382. Your first retracement's up here at 812 or 825 from that 7. It's a really decent return. Your next retracement even better, and you have some lows that are meeting in. Boom, boom, boom. Flat bottom break, one retest as it goes up. That's 50%, so that would be an extraordinary move if that can pull it off. NVOS back down to these 28s. That channel doesn't really look the greatest. This gives you the better look. Where maybe this is worth a reload, and if my reload doesn't go good, my out underneath 26 seems reasonable. This wick low goes down to 26, but if it gets down to 26 again, I think that's convincing enough that, okay, we're not going to hold this uptrend, and let's see how it goes. NVAX printing days high. We just got up to that 73s. We can over top of the initial move from the first push. So really bullish setup right here, in my humble opinion. NVOS still holding 29s. SOUN giving up 40. So maybe a look down into those middle 30s is reasonable. ATHM still holding 30s. Let's see ICCT. Let's see how far out of the money we are. And we're still holding in that green area. Here, you look at this daily candle. This really has the catalyst of if this really wants to start churning 17 mil in volume. I would love to just have this ICCT on a watch up 41%, and I would just look at it right up here, right next to NVAX, right next to ATHM. I'd love to have it set up that way. Notable amps. We're being patient with amps. We've had our first fill came here at these 45s, and we averaged, that was on this particular day right here, and we actually averaged up as it filled the gap here at 53s. Those are the only two fills we've had on the name. We watched it reject. We expected a rejection. Red candle comes in, holds the level, tries to push back up, and then pushing back down. Yesterday, we basically said, hey, we're looking for this to come down, and we're going to play this like a trend line where we can get the size we want on the name. But not able to trade on down, trying to gap up. You got the gap fill buyers buying it back up. Let's see if it can reject this and just kind of coil its way down, where maybe 625 is a reasonable ad for the name. That's where we're going to be looking for more ads. ASTS Space Mobile, we're still just kind of trading inside of this range, so nothing to really play yet. But if this comes down and that wick off those 80s, we still have that 80 order in. We're gonna try it, and then we're gonna try 75s. If this 75s wants to be some sort of just channel down, try to buy this start of the gap. Try to buy the gap. Put your risk reward. Give it 10 to 15 to 20 cents. That's what we're gonna be looking with Space Mobile. But it's that play is gonna take some more time, so it doesn't catch a title name. I would say ICCT. We're going to get the open of this next candle. Like I said, just a small fill, but I like the close of this candle. If it can show some continuation, I'm sure if you go to a 5-minute, you can see the catalyst for maybe some sort of descending channel being made. It actually matches up pretty well, but now we're getting a nice break over top of this. So just mapping a horizontal line, is this going to be an area that gives us like a false wick through this trend? And this isn't perfectly set by any means, and I wouldn't hold much weight to a 5-minute personally. But you can see the volume on this move back up. It has the decreasing volume. It has some wick tops, so maybe if the right person is in short here, we can get some extension to the upside. And it looks like we are potentially going to go for some. But let's just clear that chart and just kind of sit here. We really think that this has the potential to pull back into these 850s where we can get this to the side, and here we are right back in the 9. I mean, just in the blink of an eye, it was just sitting up as a green candle. But the same way I'd look at a red candle the upside, when this starts going, I'd want to see wick pressure into that red move. Well, now we have a nice green candle to go off of. You can see the buying pressure coming in the middle of that green candle. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough, but it showed that there was some buying pressure, at least a little bit in that candle. we're really going to be looking at this. There's two different retracements we can look at, and where we can look at this 850 as a half, and if we pull this up to the wick top, we can see 850s is my 618, and my 830s is that 702. That is potentially going to be a window that's still in the middle of this nice green candle, where we can get the position built how we want it, and then we can have some outs underneath 8 is more likely how we're going to be looking for. Uh, yeah, but aside from that, we're just going to be patient with this. We have a 918 fill on small size, but we like this little volume increase. If it can show us a decreasing volume, maybe it can hold this green candle and give us a churn where, boom, we get that nice green candle to come in, and we have the catalyst for a gap fill up here at 1250. So that's what we're going to be looking for. So let's go over to this off screen and take a look. Oh wow, we got 3 people watching. That's an increase from yesterday. I like it. Mr. Drift, how we doing? I'm doing great, man. Doing great. I got my coffee sitting next to me. It's starting to get cold. I haven't been drinking it. Charles, how we doing, man? Good to have you in. My bad if I kind of was dazing off a little bit. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys got any questions with any of the title names, we have 6 of them. All names we've kind of been talking about except for ICCT is a new one. NVAX, talk about the resilience and the patience of NVAX. I mean, we've been holding this puppy for how long? We had a fun day of trimming it here. We had a fun day of trimming it here. We had a fun time of watching it try to hold this 8. And here's your gap up from 805, and we even said, came really close. It was trying, and then we got the fill, and we said, okay, we can think about outs underneath this 791, and never came in. Holding this sort of trend line now, starting to try and take out the high. So we're gonna give it today. We're probably not gonna trim any of it today, but if we start pushing up into those 10s, that's where we're gonna be looking for trims. What about GNS? GNS, it's been a while since I looked at GNS. How's it doing? GNS, I believe this was the day we ended up getting stopped out, and I believe that stop came in on 122, which was the original entry. This was the neckline break we took. We had fun with it. Pulled back in. We had some outs that we had on this candle. We tried to reload once in this day, and then we actually had 2 reloads, one at that 130 range, and the other one came in around that 125, and we said, hey, if it gives up these 122, this original entry, I'm not trying to hold it back in. It's trying to show some life, and one thing that I will say about it, Charles, is that I look at strength as your best friend. So even though it's pulled back in heavy, you probably have a tighter channel to the downside right here that's trying to eke out of. And you have a nice green candle that hopefully some buyers can step in. But your strength is still positive. So I look at them as a house of the casino. If I was looking at an original positive break where I had the original positive break, you could say over top of this, so somewhere in this day. So if my entry was a 77 and I claimed it as a positive, I would be willing to hold it for a negative break. But from where my entry, I took a continuation where my strength is already elevated, so I don't have the leeway to hold it back in and say, because all it would take is a gap down and you get that continuation to the downside, and my 120 entry is in the shitter. No, that's a CCI, but I know some people do match up an RSI with the CCI, but I just like the CCI, and I set it to a 50 days of trading. Yeah, it has less volatility on the move of your CCI, and that's kind of why I like it. I don't get faked out as much as if, I think the original set of a CCI is 20. I like setting it to a 50, but a title name that is going, and it is looking very juicy. Let's just clear out everything right here. This TGTX, a nice resilient hold of these 50s, where we did have an average up on this position. We're looking to get this positive break here, and if we do get a positive break, it's going to be flirting with this flat top. So I'm actually expecting a rejection of this positive break right here. If it can push up into those 11s, we'll think about starting to get some outs. But if I'm lucky enough to get that positive break with an influx of volume, I'd look for a gap up and maybe a test back down into those 1170s, 1150s. But then I'd want to see during that day it start to give that move to the upside. Where I think if I get the right move, I don't think it would push the 20s. But what I had marked originally was these previous lows at 14, where maybe we start some sort of channel. Not a good look right there. But if it pushed up to those 14s, boom, on a large engulfing, maybe it needs to pull back in and be some more solidified channel like this. You don't have that point of contact though, which would be scary. But NVAX catching a bit up here to these 970s. Is it going to be able to push up to 10s? Let's move that alert to the upside as it's staying bullish, and let's put an alert off those 994s, and let's go take a look back at ICCT. ICCT just sitting flat right here. That doesn't mean that it's gonna go, but I do like how it's trying to hold an indecision. Now that we have at least half of the candle done, I like how it's leaving this wick into the middle of this green move. It's given the feel like, hey, this could actually be a tight ascending channel, and if it gives us the break that we're looking for, boom, you're gonna see a nice green engulfing candle, probably on increased volume. And I'm not saying that's gonna be the next candle, but if it just follows this a while, we could be looking at this 4 or 5 candles down the road, and you could see this boom, nice green candle come up. But I'm expecting wicks into this gap, or at least close to it, where if we just mark the start of the gap, you can see this 10 break could be worth something, where this could be a flat top that's building, but it also could be a flat bottom break, reject, 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 gives up the ghost, reject, and continue to reject that sort of 10, and then boom, right back in into the move. So it's not one that we have a lot of size on, but it's a one that, looking at the daily candles for it, we think that this move to the upside, couple candles of pullback, we think that if it wants to get going, and 12, this gap down right here is what we're looking for a move if we're lucky. Now, we don't have the size as of right now that would say, oh yeah, we can trim this level, trim this level, trim this level, trim this level. No, we don't have that type of size, so we'd need to get more size on it to be able to get the dream move. But the dream move would completely take out this high. Where if we looked at it as a blue sky setup or a retracement, you can see this level has some resistance built into it. But if it has that dream move, we would not be surprised to see a full extension. This would not come in the short term, in my opinion. But if it just went absolutely berserk, I wouldn't be surprised to see a 260, which absolute monstrous move. So I'm not sitting here saying, oh yeah, this is going to 260. No. No. But if it did happen, I wouldn't be in it for that move. I don't have the size for that. But if it just went absolutely berserk, that full extension is a 260, and it does seem to be volatile enough to maybe give some movement. But trying to just kind of trade sideways. I'm not a fan of the candle it's putting in. The look of the candle looks bad. We have 5 minutes for this to try and leave a wick into that green move, which has got a tiny one, but not much. That tiny wick is probably a test of 9 flat. Yep, it is. The low is a 901, so it's trying to get some buying off a 9. But I would say that the decreased volume passes the sort of test where if this is in a tight ascending channel like this is what we're looking to see hold. And now 10 cents of buying pressure is a little bit better now. So we will see how this ends up working. And still, if it did give up this tight channel to the down, same way that I'd look for a nice green engulfing candle to the upside, this could easily put that red engulfing right to the downside as well. NVAX, what the heck? What the heck? NVAX just put that alert in and ripped. What a nice green candle coming on in. I would say not respecting 9 yesterday. I don't see why we shouldn't at least test the waters on this 10. So let's start getting back to this trim. It's been so long since we've trimmed anything off NVAX, and we've been extremely patient, and I think this patience is time to get paid for. So we are going to go take a piece off at NVAX. Let's see if we can push up into those closer to the 10s just a little bit. So I'm going to be a hard ass on a few shares here. But let's actually start with a trim right here. We're going to take a 1/27th trim. And you're like, 1/27th? What a weird number. 1/27th trim, and that should have gave us a 96 fill. I seen the bid stack up to that, so we're just going to see if we got that or not, or if it traded back down and kind of screwed our market order out. Could have used a limit. We got 994s. So ringing the register, 994. That's over 270 a share from the entry. Not too many people can say that for a $9 stock. So, very happy with how patient we've been with this position. But we are going to take a fill, and let's see if we can put that alert back up for the 10 break. If this can break over 10, I think we're going to trim that 10.25. We have it marked. We can't remember exactly why we have it marked, but we do have it marked. NVOS, we're going to move that alert up just a little bit right there, but it is trying to hold this. If we were going to get a reload, we can go back to yesterday. We can go back to yesterday and see what type of fills we had. So let's go look at NVOS and see what fills we had yesterday. It's not showing us the amount. I don't know, this stupid update with this brokerage. Stupid update with the brokerage where I can't look at the previous day and see exactly where we got fills at. But here we are. We're looking at September 5th. So we got 31s, 35s, 26, 28s, 29s, 29.90, and 33s. Yeah, yesterday was a fun day with NVOS. We're just trying to hold this. Trying to. If this can give us a break over 30, I'd say I think it looks good. Let's look back at that ICCT and see how we're holding up. And that is a much better looking candle. Like, it's almost tempting me to give it a shot. Nice wick buying. You still have the decreased volume on this pullback indecision candle, which, a good portion of that volume is buying. If we look at the 5-minute, let's look at the 1-minute actually. Just get a feel for this volume. You can see as we came in, tested that 901, boom, boom, boom. You got the increasing volume. Now we're giving a pullback candle into the middle of that. This actually could be a bull flag setup. It's got the decreasing volume here. Let's see if this candle can turn green and keep that continuation going to the upside. And there it is, just took out the highs. So that's an example of, I hate a 1-minute, but sometimes I use it to kind of just get a look at the volume. But I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, that was a bull flag, punch it, punch it, punch it. No, I'm not going to trade a bull flag on a 1-minute, but I would say that 1-minute chart looked all right. TGTX finally giving us this move. Heyo! Nice green move. Keep going, keep going, keep going. So are we truly gonna get this 11 break on this name? It's a boring name. Like, I don't even know how I came across this name. Like, this name is such a boring name. It's like, dude, what are you trading here? We've been talking about TGTX. I think it was a title name last week too. It's just like, dude, what do you see in this? I'm like, dude, I kind of like that little flat top that's got at 1080. If it takes out 1080s, we think that we have a winner. And now when it broke it yesterday and was trying to hold it, we were sitting there saying, if it breaks 11, we think that it can be a winner where, it doesn't seem like much. But from our 1060 average probably with the day, I mean, it's a 8% move. It's respectable. And honestly, that's just the start. If it gets up to 1150 and takes out 1150 and has this U formation, all it would take is somebody to say, hey, if it gets over top of this little bit and starts filling this gap, we might not get the full gap move, but we think we can get a portion of it. That's all it would take. That's all it takes. So, it is a boring name. It doesn't trade much volume. It's a negative strength. But we feel the entry that we have is decent enough to maybe make something of it. And we've had 4 fills on the name, and each time we've got the fill at that level, it's been getting bought up. So I mean, you can say what you want about it, but at the end of the day, it's not looking half bad of a swing sort of position for us right now. But still has a lot of work left to go. So I'm not gonna make it sound like, oh, dude, this is a dandy of a play. No, I wouldn't say it's anything like that. But ICCT, we got the open of the next candle. Uh, NVAX breaking over 10, and there's a 1002. So let's re-put an alert in for this 1010. If we get that alerted, trying the wick into 10s right now. Expected the wick in the 10s, but I mean, I'm just so happy with this position. I almost just respect it. I almost just respect the name and just want to keep holding that piece for just an extraordinary move. Which, if we look at the daily chart, taking out these highs, here's that really nice bounce off of that trend line, which there you have it. Really nice bounce off that trend line. Here's your consolidation period. Took a long time to work out. Normally you're looking at 1, 2, 3. Well, the 3 candles is what we use for our out. If it would have broke down 790, that would have been our out. And even this red candle, you would look at this red candle and you'd be like, oh yeah, this is gonna break down and go down south. But we held resilient. We said, hey, it's still above 790. We got a great entry. There's no need to panic with it. Let's just give it a chance. And just like this, back up, and now we're talking about it above 10. I mean, I don't know how you follow a set of rules any better than how we've tried. Even when we were giving up sevens, we are like, man, and Drift will tell you, it was like, man, what are we missing here? Why is this trend line not getting bought up? And when the move really came in that day, it was just a huge weight taken off my shoulders. But let's go get another 127th trim right here. We don't know if we're going to get alerted here. We can always trim more, but I feel getting another piece off is worth it. And let's ring the register here. That should have gave us 1004s. It was on the bid. So 1004s is going to give us a fill. Right after that, we got 1025s, and then we're sitting back and waiting for an extraordinary move, probably up into those 12s. It might need the pullback before it does that, but we've respected the level, and we'll go from there. So let's look at ICCT. Still holding these 9s. Is this traded sideways enough? And you can see the buying pressure continuing to wick into this green move. If it follows this tight channel, as soon as it gets to the top end of the channel, it is potential that it just the buying would exceed, and that's where you'd get that nice green candle. Might not happen this candle, might not happen this candle, but let's just say we have an indecision where we have a wick top and a wick bottom. Well, the wick low would be higher here. The wick here would be into the red move. As soon as you take out that wick top on that candle, that is where you could see an influx of buying trying to get that entry. And now as soon as you take out that top, which is a 940 top, that is where you could see a nice green candle start to come in. It could go either way, but you're starting to see this sort of pan out right here. We still have 10 minutes left until it puts a green candle above this. It can false wick you as well, which even if it false wicks, I would say that it still would be rejecting the red move. So as long as until it candle closes above, we're going to follow this channel and see how it goes. ATHM, a nice 2 green candle move off the open, 1, 2, 3, a little bit of increased red volume, which is a little bit iffy. But we're okay if this wants to come back in. If this comes back in down to the bottom end here, called a 29 flat, I would have to say that we're probably going to keep chipping into it and building this position. I don't see why we would shy away from continuing to add this trend line. And you can see it starting to churn higher. And there's NVAX giving a 10-10 break. So let's just go right on. And 10-14, just absolute terror this name is on. Beautiful, beautiful move. Beautiful, beautiful. Soundtown, uh, sadly enough, kind of looks very bearish. You can see it continuing to follow this, and we would like to see it deviate away from this descending channel. Even though it's taking out lows, I would still consider it, if it caught a bid and tried to push, that it's attempting to take this trend line. But weak name on your 15, you go over to the daily, and you can see still right below that middle ground. So this middle ground, all it would take is for this to catch a bid and start to show some sort of churn to the upside, and we think that 270 break is going to be monstrous. That 270, I think you're going to see green right up to the gap, maybe trade down, retest 270, but we don't think 315, 316 gap is out of the question, and then you have a flat bottom break that never really tested it when it broke it down. You could take the wick bottoms and say, yep, it rejected that. Well, that's a 340. If we're talking about this name up at 340 a couple weeks from now, we think that it is potential. But you can see the descending channel it's following. This trend line probably has a little bit of leeway to it. And we have our levels meeting in right here. So all it would take is for this to start giving you that little bit of a U build, and could see it start catching a bid. Let's look at some other top movers for today. TGTX testing up towards that 11. A nice candle coming in. Hopefully this isn't gonna trick me like it. What the heck? Okay, never mind. My bad. Hopefully it isn't gonna trick me and just wick down and leave a candle like it did yesterday. But now convincingly through 11, we think that this name can show some continued move to the upside. Looking at the top movers now. I mean, we have Pally. That's about it. And looking at Pally, your volume or your commodity getting out of that oversold, building a small U. So the sign was kind of there, where, had it opened flat and took out 76, that would be something that I'd be interested in. But gapping up, we watched it off the open, and it traded down and was this indecision, and we actually said, hey, I mean, it's showing a wick into that low. Well, when it took that low, you can see as soon as it took that out, it traded down right off the open, and then boom, and then actually halted to the upside. But a nice solid little channel upward right here. Same with ICCT, where all it would take is the volume to boom, and you get that nice green engulfing candle. The difference is ICCT, I feel I have some clear outs that I can go off of. It's already showed me that, hey, it's made a move. We've traded back down. Now the volume's picking up. So we're looking for this sort of secondary move. And if we got the early entry in off this 819 or 918 right here, we have a small position. So, I mean, it's nothing to really brag about by any means. Honestly, it wouldn't even be worth putting in a title name with the size that we have right now. But I figured, maybe there's some other people that are trading it that want to see a different perspective, perhaps. I don't know. But amps, you can see that is a chop fest and a half. So positive break on your 15. You're still holding strength on your daily. I don't see why this couldn't catch a bid up to those 65s, this sort of downtrend, but we want to see it just kind of wedge pattern in just a little bit more, and try and get some more size on this name as well. NVAX up to 1015s, a nice churn to the upside, really resilient. I'm actually shocked we didn't trim 9s yesterday. We had 2 opportunities to trim 9s, and we didn't take either one of them. I just don't even know what was going through my head at the time to say, hey, why aren't we trimming this? Called it out. In this consolidation, we said, hey, we're going to trim 9s. It went up to 9s, we didn't. Went up to 9s again, we didn't. We even pushed up to these 950s, these 960s. We got our first trim on the day at 94s, and then we got a 1006. So, I mean, very happy with how that has played out. Let's get a look at the market. Man, the market, I mean, convincingly red. And I would say that some of these names are kind of meeting in with that. This NVOS. Ah, man. Do we try the reload right here? We have plenty of fills over top of it. I think it's worth giving it a try. I mean, it is a title name, so let's just add a little bit of spice to the day. and get a fill here on this NVOS. Let's just take back a chunk of it here, and we'll go right there, and let's see where our bid and ask is at. Let's just try and get a market order in. You can't market order, so let's just go 28. We're gonna try and take some of these 28s. See if we can trade back down in. That is showing 28s right there. So let's try the reload right here, and let's put an alert in off those 50s. We feel the TGTX, a nice move to the upside. Sound down trying to hold 240s. Let's go look back at ICCT. Coming back in the 9s. Okay. It does have the decreasing volume. I wouldn't be surprised. It's giving you the kind of the curl. You can see these wicks right here. Is that going to be something that trying to kind of breaks it down? I don't like it testing 9. As soon as it breaks this 9, I would say 885 comes into question, which is the body of the candle, and it kind of discredits this tight channel to the upside as well. Is this going to be something that gets moved? We feel comfortable with it regardless of what it does, just because of the small size we have on it. But uh, you know, anybody's ball game right here. Oh my God, NVAX straight through. We got to take a piece off for these 25s, and then we're holding the rest for the dream. Let's just go get a piece off right now. We're gonna take off 227s. So this will be fill number 3. Let's see if we get bought back up to those 25s. But this is gonna give us a fill here, where we still have a significant amount of the position. They're holding above 25s. Let's see if we can push this a little bit more. If it gives up 25s, now I'm gonna market it. There's 25s rolling through the tape, and it gave them up. And let's take our piece right there. That should have gave us 23s. We tried getting the 24s. Oh, we did get the 24s. Surprising. TGTX, a beautiful move to the upside. You can see DocuSign is a new name that we added up here. We've kind of just been trimming around this DocuSign above 50 and below 50. But we think the positive break and the earnings tomorrow after hours was worthy of throwing it on the stocks for today. By no means would I say, yeah, jump in before this earnings report, but it is a name that I'm going to hold into the report. I wouldn't be surprised to see NVOS, I'd say going off your daily, your channels more so like that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this have to trade down back to 22s where this gap meets in with this flat top, give or take. But you see the increase of volume on 1, 2, 3. Now this gap up volume before it isn't significant, but the 2 volume days before, we think that there is some potential with that. And TGTX, have a day. Have a day. Let's go look back at ICCT and see how far this flushed. And yep, kind of discrediting it. And you can see the sort of curl pattern that's giving. Let's just clear out everything from a fresh look. Is this going to be worth taking this position? Is there anything that we can look off of that 5-minute where we can say, maybe this wick top right there? So meeting in at those 60s, is that going to be something that can hold? You can see the consistent rejection right there, and actually not a half bad descending channel look right there. There's nothing in contact here, but let's see what this looks like again on our 15. You can see these sort of catalysts for, hey, reject 9s again and come back in. Here's those 65s. Is that going to be something that can hold? and NVAX coming right back in, kind of the candle I was expecting. We looked at it needed to pull back some. How does it act if it pulls back to 970s? So we got a 1006, we got a 94, and we got a 24. So good fills on the name. That's where we really wanted to try it. This is sort of that 1025 flat top that we were looking for. But if we can, it might have to trade back in to these 925s, but we will hold it and give it this sort of tight uptrend. If this is some sort of ascending channel, you can see it's rejecting top end right there. But that could be the exhaustive uptrend that it's going to be trying to hold. TGTX. And I think I broke my hand golfing yesterday. So I'm actually playing injured right now. Playing injured right now. Mr. Drift clapping it up. I'm not sure what you're clapping it up for. Hopefully you're clapping it up for the NVAX, because you know how patient and how stressful that name has been a couple times. I hope you're clapping it up for NVAX, because that's damn impressive. I'd love to see somebody else play that position as patiently as we played that one. I'd love to see it. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I would love to see it. I'd love to see it. That's high level of trading right there. I may be a beginner still, maybe classified as a beginner. I may have NVOS crossing over. I was just getting ready to click this. We're gonna give it a little bit of breathing room, but you can see it's giving up this trend. Oh well, oh yeah, never mind. We adjusted the trend. My bad, my bad. Let's get it back how it's supposed to be. We'll give it just a little bit of leeway right there. We'll give the top end just a little bit of leeway, sort of like that. So maybe 27s is that out. Let's re-put an alert back in for the breakdown of 27s. Breakdown of 27s, we're just going to probably cut it and just part ways with it. It was a fun name. We had a lot of fun. I mean, talk about the resilience on this one. I mean, we were literally saying on the stream, and that's going to cut it for the NVOS. Oh, wait a minute. And it caught a bid right away, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, we still have a chance here," as this support was just holding, barely holding. But we are going to try, and I'd say BAC breaking down this trend line. If it was holding this trend line and right around that, we probably would average in some more. But let's look at our daily chart here. Let's adjust this off these wicks, and let's keep this these wicks in play here. We think that this is reasonable. If it does start to break down that trend line, it has a gap that it can maybe wick into, but I'm not interested in adding that gap with this wick getting so close. A lot of times when I see it wick close to that gap, it's almost considered and traded like it is a gap fill. So when it comes back down to that, it just doesn't have as many people. Like me, I'm already talking about, am I going to play the gap seeing this wick right there? Uh, it gives a feel like, hey, this is going to be a flat bottom break. Let's come back into support. We have this, I'd say 2770 is reasonable support. And even this wick low from over here, it trades below it, but wick, 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 and that's 27. So maybe that's an area that we can try it there. But I'm okay holding this against me. BAC, I know quarter after quarter they're going to be buying back shares, and it's going to decrease that pie, and we think that we're getting pretty decent value for it. If we look at the projection, 25 bill, look at year over year numbers, 24.5, so not as much growth, but we're expecting this profitability, 82 cents a share. Last year they put up about 80 cents that they can beat. We think that they're going to continue buying back shares and helping our position out. Whether it helps it out in the short term or more the long term, I would expect more so long term. But we think that we're buying back fairly priced shares, whether the price moves with us or not. TGTX. Putting in a red candle, a little bit of increased volume, but you can see the wick of buying, so you still do have a wick of buying. And let's go back to ICCT and see how far this flushed on. Surprisingly, I can't even believe it, but a clear rejection right off that downtrend that we had set. Clear rejection, and that also goes right into the middle of that red move and already given back up nine. So it's trying to hold nines, it rejects, gives up nines, claims nines, and now can it just hold these nines? And we think that it could potentially, now this is not a perfectly set channel, there's multiple ways that you could set this sort of channel right here where we're in a middle ground. We're in a middle ground, and I did the same thing with this with NVOS. We go back over the NVOS, which is trying to hold here, but we had it set sort of like this. Now, completely different charts, by the way. We had it set like this, and then we also had it set sort of like this, where we said, hey, which channel are we going to start following? And obviously, boom, you see this candle comes in, starts rejecting that first channel. Now that we have more information, it's always good to take the information that's presented, and we go from a descending channel to a tight ascending channel to a more decisive channel. You see how when you get more information, you want to keep adjusting. There's never a perfect way to set it until you see what the buying and selling, which one. If we know that the price action moves, if more liquidity is bought than sold at a particular price, the price will go up 1 penny or a little bit. And then as there's levels on the book there, it takes more liquidity to be bought for it to keep pushing it up. So you wanted to take the information that's presented and give you a decent understanding of, okay, what is everyone else looking at? What is everyone else looking to do? Is there liquidity that's being looked at getting taken off the books? Or is there liquidity that's going to be added onto the book? It's that is always key. And we do have a fill on this NVOS reload below 28s. It was showing a price above 28s. But let's go ahead and look and see where that fill came in at. NVOS, we got 27.8s. 27.8. So, if this is something that can catch a bid back up to the upside, we end phase coming all the ways back in, testing near these 120 lows. We look at the daily chart. We talked about N phase yesterday. It keeps getting rejected off of 130s. But the big part about the N phase is that it was able to at least set closes and price action above that. You can see setting a close below those lows was a no-no. Obviously, you see this candle coming on in. Now, you could say the market's a little bit weak. This is why N phase. You could say that. But I would say when I seen the close, and I just kind of just skimmed through stocks for the day when I got home. When I seen the close down here, I said, that's not a good close. It gaps down, it fills that gap. It's the only positive I can take from that. But now if it's not able to hold this, I'd expect some stop losses to come on in. And let's see us test some of these support levels that we don't have all of them set, but there's some clear support levels for some downward pressure. So if a short is saying to himself, hey, I can still short this down to this support level down here, let's give it a chance. It's not able to hold over 130s, and now if he's shorting right below 130s, I mean, he's in the money. So when the shorts get in the money, sometimes it's hard to break that. Same way to the upside. Uh, Same way to the upside when the longs get the positions that they like. I mean, think of how many people are trying to buy this NVAX here at 7 and they're just holding. There's no need to sell because your strength is still good. But you can see the build of this ascending channel. You can see why we're trying to trim this sort of flat top right here. So worthy trims. If it's able to hold, great. But if it comes back in, I would say that, I would expect the longs to continue holding this name up. Personal opinion. Let's go take a look back at ICCT. ICCT still strangely holding 9. Like this look trying to hold. I just don't think it looks good enough for me to start punching in yet. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced yet. But I don't like looking at that little X cross. So let's just clear out and just watch the price action. We're right in at 9s. Maybe we can go see and take a look at the tape and see if this is going to give us any reasonable movement. Notable move, Weight Watchers. Look at that. Opening candle, taking out this high. Look at that consolidation. I mean, just if you're taking this, hey, it's holding 25s, holding 25s. Boom. 25s could have been a more than reasonable. Looking at this, if I was watching it, I would have said, hey, 25s is not half bad. That looks very reasonable. You get the volume increase. You get the secondary volume trying to push it up. Decrease, decrease. On the two red can. There's not too much better ways. And even on this decreased volume, you can see the buying wick coming in there. And if you're wrong, you can really punch. You can really punch that retest at 10 right there. Oh my goodness. A very, very nice move, and it was really trading sideways. And here's a great look of it. You can see here's your flat bottom break. Look at that direct test. Couple false breaks. Test. 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 Where is that level at? Our frickin' breakout. Test. Bull flag. Boom. Break it. Oh my gosh. You guys see what I kind of just broke out there? When do the shorts really take control? Boom. Flat bottom break. Test, test. The shorts are trying to hold that price. Test, test. The shorts are trying to hold that price. Test, test, test. Shorts are trying to hold that price. Test. And then you get this type of bull flag setup right there. And now you're breaking. I mean, even if you waited for the official break of this, I mean, you're sitting significantly in the money. A 1050 break is sitting 5%. Would have been a beautiful take. Beautiful take. It even has the volume increase. Look at the volume. Boom, 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 boom. You see how the volume is increasing as this move is playing out. Boom, boom. When it takes out this high, a big tell. Here's your first candle move. Boom. The volume on this breakout actually exceeds it. It exceeds it. I don't think you can draw something up as good of a setup as that was. A very good setup on that. ICCT holding these 15s, or 9s. I can't even believe I'm saying that. We got a minute left on this candle. It's still sitting in the middle of this red move, so I'm not going to say that it's ready yet. But if this takes out 942s, even the 937 wick top right there and closes above it, this could be setting up for some continuation. But you can see the curl. You can see the curl giving you that frowny face. Where if you were looking at this as a completion of the frowny face, just marking down to here, you can see the signs of it. But do the buyers keep holding up this 65 level? Soundhound's still holding 240s. Now that we have the information, you know, it's kind of looking like it wanted to break down bottom end of the channel. You can see the buying pressure holding it above that trend line. A couple different ways of looking at this, but all it would take is push up, retest 45s, solidify those 40s, and then that 45 is going to be a neckline break where it still can reject into those 50s, but if it claims 50s and starts putting in that bullish green candle above these 54s, these two highs right here would be a significant little look. NVOS trading sideways very long. We tried the reload finally. We were patient. We were patient. We were patient. We have the channel set how we like it. If we're wrong, we're gonna get a flush. But we think 22s could be a retest of these highs. That's not terrible. NVAX trading back in TGTX. airlines have been green. I seen they were moving early in the day. How the stream? I was thinking about calling out some airlines. Just clearing out everything on AAL. You can see you're trying to reclaim that negative break, but a tight channel. If this wants to hold, and or maybe even just drop a little bit more, I'm going to be very bullish on these airlines. Those airlines earnings that they put up were absolute monstrous earnings. Now, could be a time of year that they just were performing very well. But AAL, if this were to keep catching this bid to the downside, we are going to be aggressive. We've been holding a piece. I mean, how many times have I done this where we have the golden entry off of a trend line? We have beautiful entries as it's moving up, and boom, we get these outs all the ways up on beautiful extensions, and they pull right back into these trend lines. I mean, DAL is holding up better than AAL, obviously, but you can see the channel setup to the downside, where if this retests these highs at 40 flats, we have a couple gaps in right here. If we look at this move as a retracement to the upside, you can see your half is meeting up beautifully in there. We have our 702 that's meeting in near the initial neckline break. These airlines are going to need some patience. They're setting up weak, but I think AAL and DAL are worth keeping on watch. They're not quite ready yet, in my humble opinion. TGX, a nice churn, breaking over that flat top. That's really what we wanted to see. Let's go take a look back at ICCT. We're still holding nines. I can't even believe I'm saying that. But holding nines, we have to open of the next candle. It's just going to take a little bit more time. We think if we can discredit this red move right here, that this could potentially start catching a bid for a tight channel upside, where all it would take is reject, pull back in, and keep respecting this, where eventually we're going to be looking for that boom, that green candle to push and test up the here. And we think that a lot of bulls, a lot of longs are really going to be interested testing above these wicks. If it can give us that test, boom, through that, we think that an extension, we have clear outs up to this gap, and you could even say wicks into this previous flat bottom break. Boom, flat bottom break, one test before it goes. We got the sideways consolidation, and it's testing up to these 940s as we speak. So if it keeps respecting this channel, and there's a 950 break. So now if it can set a lot of time left in this candle, so it's going to need some time. And I wouldn't expect it to just blast through. If it did, great. We only have the small size, so I would say it's not great. But now if this wants to pull back in, your body candle close at this 906 is tempting. And I would say the wick top right here, if bulls are going to try to keep pushing this higher, I would say marking that wick top, which is a 922, 923, call it a 925 test. Could be where we want to average in. We only got one fill on the name at these 18s, right at the end of that second candle. And we've been really patient with it. But significant little move that we thought it was starting to give that curl, that frowny face where, hey, let's come back into the middle of this first move. But sometimes the buyers, I think the daily chart really gives you the better move where here's your initial pull of the bull flag, and now you're going to try and build this U shape. Where we'd like to have the size on the position and see back in the 921. So this candle is going to take a little bit more time. Bottom end of the channel, given a stair step look, hard selling pressure, 10 minutes left, 50K in volume, but wicking into that bottom end. So let's just see if it can keep holding this tight channel long enough to the point where we're confident enough that we can take a trade in it. So we'll come take a look back at that later. I really want to see that NVOS and see how that's setting up. Where did NVOS go? NVOS, there you are. Woo-hoo. Did get those. We got 2780s first reload on the name. Wow, I can't even believe that I'm saying that this channel is holding right here. And talk about the resilience drift. Talk about the patience. We didn't reload anywhere in this sideways chop until we just got alerted right there. Where did that alert come in at? NVOS, we reset that in 2750. 2750 right there. Boom. We said, hey, it's still trying to hold this trend. Let's give it a chance. Sometimes that's all you gotta do is give it a chance. But what gave me the opportunity to give a chance on it? You gotta ask yourself. If I was just taking a long yesterday, you're flirting with your entry price. Having the entry is important in playing a reload play. I hope this makes sense when I'm saying this. Because I have this entry right here, we have trims all the ways up. Now we finally get an opportunity where, hey, we're trying to hold some price action. Let's try it. We have plenty of fills above 30. We can try it here at 27. If we're wrong, our risk to reward right here is beautiful. We know we're wrong if we break down 26. Our entry at 27.70 is a cent and a half of risk. Risk reward is key in any type of position you're playing. TGTX. Who would have thought a boring name like TGTX would be able to just hold a trend line? Hold a trend line. Talk about the patience. We don't try the trend line here as it's coming down to the gap. We were going to watch it at the gap. Shows us the move, shows us that it's trying to show some strength above this 1080. We liked it originally because we said, hey, we think that this can break 1080 and give us some move. Couple false breaks. At the open today, we open in and it's wicking into the trend line. Why not give it a chance? Simple game. Simple game. Now, I'm not the bee's knees. I'm just saying that boring names. As long as liquidity is taken off the books, that price is going to go up a penny. And if more liquidity keeps getting taken off, eventually there's got to be some give and take. You look at the daily here. You can see the flat top is building here at these 1080s. Yesterday we changed that and said, hey, if this breaks 11, we think we can get 1150s. If it can break 1150s, we think that we can at least test this previous low. If we think that the potential move for testing a previous low from, let's just go from 1070, is 28%. My downside risk, call it a 1080 or a 1050. Here's those same 1070s. There is 1045, which is what we've been talking about. We're looking at 2.5% risk or 2.5% risk for a potential 30% risk. Risk to reward is key when you're trying to identify a trade or a swing trade. Also strength, which in this particular scenario, the strength is not on our side. But a lot of times when you see a nice move, a nice 3-candle move, just take a nice fib tool through that 3-candle move. What's the price action trying to hold? We're trying to hold this 618. Where is that other action at? That 1050. You see us trying to hold 1050s. It's key in understanding retracements to the upside and retracements to the downside. ATHM still holding 30s. I don't think there's anything to really talk about here. We've been talking about ATHM. We started talking about this trend line back in June. Talk about being patient. We don't start this position till the double bottom confirmed higher low. Best fill on this pullback was 28.62. Talk about setting another wick low where we bought 28.90s yesterday. We were thinking about getting more fills. It got bought up quick. Bought up quick. How quick do your buys get purchased up? Here's our 28.90 fill. We just respected the gap. Boom, bought up right away. Now we got this churn, nice bull flag taking place, trying to hold 30s. I'm sure there's some sort of downtrend meeting in here as well. So maybe we get another opportunity to buy 29 flat. It's possible. It's possible. But we think we have some key levels. We're starting with this flat top up here at 30.75. It's over $2 in the money from some of our fills. We'll think about it, but when the price is here, I'm going to be pretty bullish. In my humble opinion, we're getting close to that positive break. A lot of chop, and we haven't had a confirmed negative break. We have one tiny one here. We claim it. False claim. False. False. Let's see another false, and let's get back up to this overbought area right here. If we reclaim positive, which, you know, it does have some resistance building up in here, but if we get some price action up here in these upper 30s, we think that we have a winner. TGTX, continuing that slow churn to the upside. I'm not expecting any vigorous moves up to these 1150s. We can start really thinking about in front of 1150s, but I mean, you can see the flat top that's being built here up to those upper 11s. That's what we're going to be looking for. MSOS, 2 trims yesterday. That would be the one correction I would like to take back from yesterday, is probably shouldn't have tried it. Before we had this trend line set something sort of like this, coming on in sort of like that. I mean, obviously it goes further left, but we said, hey, 750 looks like a potential area. It was early in the day. I should have gave it a little bit more time to sort of develop. It had volume that was still coming in. The cannabis has been strong. But let's go back to ICCT. NVOS still kind of just trading sideways, and ICCT kind of giving us more information. So let's start over, crack the knuckles. Let's start over. What's the price action that's trying to hold? 1065. I can already see it. Why 1065? Switch to that 5-minute. Boom. Just take that wick top right there. Direct correlation. Trying to hold 65. So let's go back to our 15-minute chart. What can we see? We can see consistent. You can see the wedge pattern building for the breakdown of those 65s. So is it worth taking a trim? You got 2 red candle moves, still decreasing volume. You got a clear rejection of a breakout candle up here at 1050. Not 1050, 950. 940, you got to ask yourself, why did this not break out? False wick. So I'm going to hold resilient from buying this 21. Slightly out of the money. We're out of the money 30 cents. 30 cents. Okay. That's why getting that first entry sometimes is all it needs to give you that clarity of, okay, we're going to keep this on watch. If it pulls into a level that we can see a respectable chart, we're going to try it. But you can see potential descending channel being made. You can see the frowny face being made in a clear rejection candle of these 950s. Is this 865 something that's going to be able to hold? You know, it can still break it down. I'd say 1050s is reasonable. You got your 21, you have the majority of that green move. The only thing that is scary is this stair step action. Boom. You got the selling pressure into the middle of the red move, and then you have the washout top. Boom. So the right person getting the right entry right there could be a little bit alarming. You can see the volume picking up to the downside. By all means, NVOS reclaiming 30s, a nice green move. Actually, kind of looked at as a neckline break. If you call this a confirmed higher low, anytime I get a higher low come in, sometimes I just mark that neckline. You can see this price action flirting with it, the volume just starting to pick up a little bit. Very light volume on this candle. There wasn't any true selling pressure of people that are trying to push this down. They're probably just waiting for this trend line break. If they have it set up the same way as me, maybe that's potential, but you can see this 30 trying to claim. So almost, we're over 2 pennies in the money from this trend line, and now breaking higher and really getting going right here. So there's our fill, 27.70. Beautiful reload, 11% in the money on the reload. Live trade taken for you guys. Pretty much right after we took the trades when we... I mean, you're a wizard, Harry. You're a wizard. Now over 3 pennies in the money. You know, I don't really see too much. You know, maybe this wick top up here in the 32s is worth something, but you know, honestly, I'm pretty bullish if it gets there. It might even have to pull back in. Uh, Maybe in the realm of taking some profit. But oh boy, it's really gonna test it right now, isn't it? This volume increase right here with a nice healthy green candle. Not too much wick selling pressure, but if we were gonna trim some, it'd probably be in front of this 32 level, and after that, we have a nice room to jump potentially up to these 40s. So Very nice look on the name. Very nice look on the name. Let's take a peek over at oil. Oil still slight green, nothing crazy. TGTX, nice slow churn. We like the hold on this name. We like the hold. SOUN, gapping up, no weakness to trade back down, trading up, and now trying to set this flat top sort of move here. ASTS coming on into the bottom end of the channel. I wouldn't say, I would count this as 2 points of contact. I'm not going to say this is a solidified trend line, but might need a little bit of time. That one's going to need some time. Soundhound still, where is our extension push up to? Not quite getting up to those 45s, but if it rejects 45s, comes on in, sets a higher low, that is going to be interesting watch. I can't remember the last time I looked at NASDAQ short. I don't know if that is direct correlation or not. Why did we mark this? We probably just marked the low. I don't think that we marked that in a direct correlation with it. I'd be shocked. But we do have some gaps right here. We have a gap right there. We have a gap right there. We have a gap right there. So honestly, I'm sure there's people out there that are like, dude, what's wrong with the market? What's wrong with the market? What's wrong with the market? Dude, why is the market down today? Because more people were willing to sell than buy. Not more people, more liquidity. I love watching people overreact to nothing. I would say it's following this channel. You have some reasonable gaps to the upside. What happened to it? What the heck? What the heck? There we go. Now let's remark that channel in right there. I would say the long is probably good. Why do I say that? Is because you have a clean negative break on your NASDAQ short and it's trying to reclaim up right into a downtrend. We go look at the TQ. TQQ. You can set this up the same exact way, where you have some gaps that are going to be attempted to be filled up there, but you have this ascending channel, and you're positive. See how you're holding that positive? All it would take is a little bit of volume off of these levels, which it's already wicking into. Honestly, I would say the TQs right here is probably a good long if you're looking at short term. But you can see the trend line right here, pulling in. I would say this is potentially some sort of neckline in right off of a 40 flat level. I mean, how much better can you draw it up than that? So yes, maybe a little bit more downside, but I'd say if I was going to pick one, I would probably pick long. Humble opinion. I would probably pick long, and I'm sure you have tons and tons of people. NVOS rejecting up towards those 32s. A nice green candle move. You know, if it pulled back into like 29 halves, not a bad look. TGTX. Good lord. My bad, guys. Let's go see how far out of the money ICCT is. Oofda! 70 pennies out of the money? Dude, this guy has no clue what he's doing. This guy has no clue what he's doing. You can see the look of the descending channel trying to come into play right here. Taking out these lows through 65s. Is this an area that we can think about and add? I would say staying away from descending channel looks is potentially the play. But going from the move, I would say 840s, 838s, potentially. Hold on, I gotta send something real quick. Nice move. ATHM testing up, nice green candle move, testing up to this sort of downtrend that we had marked. TGTX, an absolute nice churn. I mean, a boring name. Talk about a boring. Boring. No volume. I don't like trading risk reward. That's what you'll hear people say. Monstrous move, 5% move for a weak name. Building this U shape. What are the odds we get a test up to 1150, 1175s? I think it's reasonable. ATHM. Soundhound looks like it tested up. You can see the indecision candle coming on in. It gets as low as 35s. Your level's at 34 today. It kind of gave you that wick, but it also gave you this wick. Opens flat. Just how is it going to act out of a flat open? Anybody's ball game here, in my opinion. Anybody's ball game. Let's go take a look at ICCT and look at how far out of the money we are. Still trying to hold 50s. Is this an area where we can think about adding? Call from yesterday. We start to the new swing. Boring name. Boring name. Man, this is ICCT. Interesting. Interesting little look. Just looking at this candle with the stair step look, you got the descending channel type of look right here. It's trying to hold these 65s, which, you know, if we look at this 5-minute, I'm not going to hold too much weight to this, but you can see the much better, tighter channel, descending channel, where all it would take is a breakdown continuation. You can see the flat bottom being made here at these 8s, and the volume picks up on this move down. You can see the small little U, or I guess you call it an N, frowny face is what I have better luck sane. You can see this acting like it wants to break down, but trying to get bought up off this 15-minute. If this is sort of a price that we can maybe try to add to and get that size that we truly wanted originally. But I just don't like this red candle, as in here's the price action that's really trying to hold is 880, and boom, now do we reject and then build this stair step right down? You see the catalyst for 8 flat, or a test down towards 8 seems reasonable. NVOS, put in that red candle. Can it trade back into 28s? And boom, take out 32 is going to be that break, which is that level. Reject, reject. Gotta hold this higher low, and boom, let's see it catch a bid. Let's get a refresh on some movers. Let's see if we can find a new play. How does that sound? Always trading these boring names. Let's see if we can find some with some volatility. Let's look at you see, boom, there's your move. False break comes right back into the level, but you can see how that tight channel, boom, gives you that move. Good profit takes up to those 90s. This candle alone is like a 20 something% move. 22, that's a good call out. Good call out. I think it's notable that the market is significantly in the red. Nasdaq almost down 1%. Alibaba holding in flat, trying to hold this level. If it breaks down, you have the neckline, you have the previous highs, which is what that level is in a sense. So it's trying to hold these previous highs right here. But a breakdown could give you a neckline, maybe a gap fill. Come on, put the dang line there. There we go. Which, you know, if you look at it from that perspective, is this some sort of trend line that's going to be able to hold, which gives you that sort of curl to the upside? I'd say your more solidified channel or trend line, you got a gap fill down here at these 90s. If it really wanted to give out this trend line, I'd say pull back in down to this trend. If we're looking at this next Monday, next Monday through Thursday, down here at this 89.5, monstrous level right there, in my opinion. And we are going to be playing it. We're going to be buying more, buying more, buying more. ICCT, let's take a look back. Still trying to hold these 1050s. We got open of the next candle potentially coming on in. But off of this red candle, which you did have some increased volume, light volume on this candle, all it would take is a boom, stair step right back in. NVOS testing back in. You can see the increase of volume, so kind of a wash top right there. Is it going to be able to solidify a higher low? You know, probably when it was testing up towards this 32, that's the level we identified as, okay, we can probably start taking some trims on the name. Didn't execute, but we do have a wick of buying pressure into this green move. So even though the volume is increased, they're saying no chance of a bounce in the NASDAQ. Oh yeah, probably not. Probably not right here, but down here near this 15,250, I would say I would expect some sort of bounce in my humble opinion. Uh, I'd say this 850 coming back into play for ATHM. Over $1.25 in the money now. No trims taken on the name. I don't see a reason. Warner Brothers still just eating it up. So if there is something I've been human with, maybe I just have a little bit too much emotional attachment with this name. but filled the gaps yesterday. Now giving up the gaps. Is it going to be able to hold 11? Potential that I have a little bit too much emotional attachment for this name. That is probably, as of right now, still a bit overvalued. Maybe that space in general just needs to take a chill. You know, Disney right in that same boat, testing the 80s today, where, you know, this name gets underneath 80s. That is I would say a level that needs to be held. You see a breakdown of 80. I would not be surprised. I mean, just looking off first glance right here, I wouldn't be surprised to see low 70s coming on into play. Maybe a retest of this flat top. So 71 to 67 is probably all in all where this little drop would send us down to. Uh, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this were to catch a bid up to those, back up to those 85s. Maybe that's a potential cut of the position. End phase down 4% today. Just pulling this channel a little bit further. I would say probably uh, there's your catalyst for our support levels down there. I think it's a very undervalued name. My humble opinion. I think it is undervalued if you're looking five years out down the road. I think this is going to be a laughable price 5 years from now. Humble opinion. We will see. It's a weak name. It looks like it's going to give out the lows. It looks like it's going to test down to this lower 100. You know, even after that, you don't really have too much support that you can go off of. So we'll see. We will see. ICCT down to these 8s. So giving up the ghost just a little bit. We're going to try the bottom end of this channel. We're going to be almost $1 out of the money off of our position. Wow, we suck at trading. We are just absolutely atrocious, aren't we? We'll see who gets the last laugh here. We're going to try it. And just looking at the retracement, you know, down to this 8 level, this 822 is where we're at right now. Given that stair step look, how do we act down here? You know, this wick, we can probably go to that second wick, which believes that 806 right there. Not a good type of look. But if this is something that could catch a bid, you can see the catalyst for a potential ascending channel, maybe. Maybe where, you know, this could be NVOS all over again, where we absolutely just shiver in our boots the whole time down there. But based on the day that we're having right now, this move to the downside is nothing that we're gonna get scared of. We'll see how it goes. You can call me a bad trader if you want, but we'll see who gets the last laugh on this name, because we're gonna try this risk reward down here at 8. Throwing a fresh chew for it. Here's our test of 8. I'm gonna give it some time to breathe. If this just flushes right through 8, we'll go take the hit. Here's 814s. We're officially, nope, right at $1 out of the money right now. Oh, fuck. Or, excuse me, I didn't mean to curse like that. That's bad. It's a bad habit of mine. I gotta check the dang schedule. Let me check the dang schedule. Okay. Not bad. We got till 1 o'clock before we gotta get out of here. This is probably one that we should just get out. I really don't like the setup, given this sort of channel look down. But still right in the middle of this move, we think that there is some potential. What other name were we really watching? I don't think we're really watching anything else. C Limited, that is sad. That is sad to see this up. A nice neckline break there. Exiting of that oversold area, potentially the day. It could have been one we tried buying the knife on. It's a name that we like. I just don't know enough about that litigation or the lawsuit and the court case and stuff like that, and the fraud that the company was going with. So I kind of just stayed away from it. But it was one that we were definitely keeping an eye on. 819's trying to hold here. That stair step down. 1, 2. There's your retracement. Let's map it out. There's your retracement down, retracement up. 3, 4, 5. On a red engulfing 5, I'm not really a fan of calling it that. What's our 30-minute looking like here? It's got some levels on the 30. Volume increase, 1, 2, 3. Right back into the move. What's the old snap doing? I seen that was trending. Oofda! That's what 450 million of stock-based compensation will do for you. Sheesh. Right back into the level. Actually doesn't look half bad. Risk reward probably half decent. I wouldn't touch it with 10-foot pole. Ooh, that is not a good look right there. Full extension. You're looking at a double. I didn't even look at the daily on this name. There's your full extension. 1 day, back test the neckline. 1 day, back test the previous high. So definitely a catalyst for a move further to the downside. But do we get some sort of retracement back up? 16s. Yeah, looking at it from that perspective, I don't know how much weight I would hold to any of this. I would say actually more so of a flush through all of it. It's a pretty dog meat company too. Seen AMC was trending. Sheesh. Oh man, that is just NVOS really setting up this consolidation candle, trying to take out the highs. Soulhound, Soundhound tested up, at least tested that wick right there at 44s. Now traded back in, holding those 40s as of right now, catching a small bid. Nothing to really brag about, but all we wanted to see was uh, test up to those 45s is what we wanted, but come confirm a higher low where this is going to be your neckline break. So playing out kind of how we were anticipating. That doesn't mean that it's going to work out the way we anticipated too. There's a difference there. Uh, but kind of playing out how we think it's possible. You got a nice red move right here. You get a nice move into the middle of it. Not too much volume coming on in. Hog. I know you guys are going to be like, dude, really hog? But I was really thinking about a long. If this would have kept catching a bit to the downside, these low 30s on hog, I would have been pretty interested in. But you can see the neckline. If this does confirm a higher low, it did have a nice push over top of this little shoulder here, where a confirmed higher low. Let's see it develop this sort of trend line right here. Something like that, where if it keeps holding this, call it 33, I could see top end of this little flat top be tested again up at 51s. Not a terrible sort of look right there. NVAX back up to those 25s. Man, this is really looking bullish. Oh man, look at that. I mean, definite selling pressure right there, but building that short U right there. This has continuation written all over it. Now confirmed above those 1025s. ATHM still holding 30s. You can. This is honestly ideal setup right here. Now you're gonna be like, how is it ideal setup? What? We're right into a downtrend. It looks like double top. Make the move. 1, 2, 3. Holds the level. Boom. Sets up the flat top. Trades back in. All it would take is catch a bid off of these 30s, which we're pretty much right there. So just wick down a little bit more. Some volume reclaims back in, and boom. As soon as you take out this 30-20, that is something that could get it going. I know you're probably like, dude, you were just buying this down here in the 28s. I don't want to buy it higher. Sometimes buying it higher actually gives you a little bit more conviction. Now, I'm not saying that the conviction is there yet. You still got this downtrend that's got to kind of break. But if you push over those 30-20s, I mean, the flat top is the next thing that we have marked. And you kind of could look at it as a neckline. There's your double bottom or triple bottom, and there's sort of your neckline break right there above 30-10. So I mean, the catalyst is there for maybe a push higher. Just saying. It's a boring name. Nobody wants to trade boring, slow moving names. But I look at this as not so much of a boring company. Companies that put up 80+% margins operating at 20%, uh, buying back shares, buying back good shares, high margin business. I mean, if you can find them and get the entries on them, they will do wonders for you, in my humble opinion. Uh, Everybody wants a high margin company, and I would say with the NQ still down a whole percent on the day, uh, these big China names holding slightly green. I'm sure if I went to the FXI, if I went to the Franklins, let's go take a look at the Franklins. Franklins holding flat, FXI holding slightly in the green. And if I was gonna pinpoint an area that I'd want to be at, I'd probably say this TNGX. This is getting alertable, where over top of those 725s, we're gonna put an alert off of that. I'm surprised it was showing rejection early in the day, but these that make that move and just churn sideways like this, I mean, you could run a deep stop down the 490 if you wanted to. Right below, I wouldn't give it a single penny below that. What's the open of this candle? The open of the candle, the low is 5. Shade bottom. I'd put that stop right at 499. 499, not a single penny lower. 499 if you're running on a hard stop. Now you're like, that's $3 a share. 100 shares is 300 bucks. Yep. Yep. And from where you take the trade today, that's $3. So your 1-to-1 is right there. 42%. I don't like Pally. And here's our breakdown. Is this going to be an area that we can try? Let's try a small ad here. Risk reward is definitely there for this, so we're going to average into this position just a little bit. I'm going to average in just a little bit more. Come back down, 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 come back down. Size on the ask should send it down. We're looking for just that tap at 8. Come back down, there's 3s. Threes. There's 2s. There, let's try that right there. Now ICCT. Let's go one more. One more. Now we're gonna get ready for an out. See if I can reclaim 8s here. Reclaim 8s. Come on. Come on. $780. 780. 780 stop. Give it 780. Come on, baby. There we go. Buy it up. Buy it up. There's 8s. We're gonna move that stop up to 85s. Holding 8s for now. Nothing to brag about. But now I would say that we have what we want, and now if we push back up to these 40s, I think we're just gonna cut it and try and reload off of 8s. So got to get a push first. We got 07s, 99s, and 93s. Anybody's ball game here. Anybody's ball game here. TGTX giving up those 11s. It's alright. NVOS trying to give that churn up to 32s. A few 808s going through the tape here. See what those averages in move the position to. It's probably still not anything worth bragging about. And we have a wash sale on the name. That's not helping it. Eight oh threes. 802s. 809s. 810s stacked. We feel we got good orders on the name. We'll see if it can catch a bid here. How's the NVOS looking? ATHM trading down. Geo still holding decent strength. ASTS turned green. Baba slight red. NVOS still trying to test up to those 32s. This ICCT, if this is gonna flush on us, we just want to be ready for an out. I wouldn't want to see it give up 8s, but I'd like to see a move up to like 40, somewhere in the middle of this red move, where we can then try to reload off of this. TGTX, probably should have tried to get something out. There was a significant move, but we got 37 seconds left. Volume, the last two candles kind of picked up. If it can show me a wick and try and hold these 90s, low 90s. I wouldn't want to see 90. I'd want to see low 90s. Low 90s. We can think about ICCT. Oh, we're gonna have another one of these that's just like, how are we gonna hold? Honestly, 750s could be where we catch a bid off of. If we go over to the 30-minute though, you can see this 790 is probably gonna be my out. If it gets underneath 790s, that is gonna be no bueno for us. You can see the descending channel. Top end of the channel would be a nice little move if we can get it. We have to open to the next candle. Let's hopefully not get a flush through. We can just hold the 8s here. I feel good about it. Oh boy, here's 92s. We got the 80 stopping. See if buyers can hold this level. Doesn't look good. Does not look good. We'll see if they can hold these lows here. We're not going to add anymore. If it gets us out, gets us out. See if the buyers can hold it. Doesn't look like it's going to be able to. Just trying to hold. See if it can hold. Got one lot on 99s, and there we go. Some buyers getting it back above 8. Huge, 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 huge. That's big time right there. That's big time. We're gonna stick true with that stop. But just holding above 8 is such a big hold right there. Such a big hold. Now there's a lot of time left in this candle, so I'm not gonna make it sound like it's over. This could just like that. Just gives up 8s again. Let's just see if these 8s can find a way to hold just like that, right back above 8s. This is what we want to see. If we have some of these wick low buys down here, which we got a 93 fill, we think that it's all right, but really looking like it's going to give up the ghost. I don't know how much credibility we can hold to this ascending channel here. NVOS trying to hold still, and ICCT trying to hold these 8s. Is it going to be able to? It took out the ask at 8s. Now we got to ask at 97s. This is going to break down. It's going to have to break down here. Buyers are trying to hold these 90s. And here is going to be the continued flush. We'll see if 88s can hold. We'll see if 80s can hold. It's not a good look. We've got 10 minutes left, so this can still wick us up. Oh boy, 85's on the tape, 84's on the tape, 83's on the tape. Oh no, it's not going to be able to hold these 80s. No, don't do it to us. Don't do it to us. There's 81s. It's not going to be able to. It's not going to be able to. One lot on 81s. By the grace of the Lord, can it hold this? There's no way. There's no way with this look that holds at 80s right there. Oh, there's 80s on the tape and just right through it. And that's it. That's it for the trade. I mean, we gave it the best risk reward we felt that we could right here off this 8 level. We had the wicks down into the 90s, and now it's going to try and wick in. It's still going to have this to try and hold. Oh, man, stopped out. Ah, probably wasn't the right name. We had the catalyst of the descending channel from the get-go. And if it reclaims 8, I'd say potentially a chance, but I don't think so. I don't think so. We'll stick to the boring names. That was, we had all right size on it. It still wasn't a name that we were gonna punch a ton in. But we took, off the first fill, we took a small hit that was at 918s, and then held it all the ways back in. So those 918s, we lost $1.40 a share on that. And then we lost, we had 99s, we had 92s, and we had 07s. So gave it a little bit of risk reward, added a little bit more to the loss, but it is what it is. I mean, sometimes that's the gamble that you take. And ICCT trying to hold above 80s, but it's possible that, off that 30 look, you got 8 minutes left in this 30-minute candle. Maybe could have gave it a little bit of time just to see if it could hold 750s as a green candle. If it does fill inside of that, or give you some sort of look like this, it still could possibly go. But yeah, I don't know how much differently we could have played it. It's holding, it's wicked into those 75s, so maybe we could have gave it 70s or a hard stop. Maybe we were just a little bit early. It's going to be interesting to look and see what this chart ends up looking like. But now holding above 94s. Could have stayed true to it, but I don't know. It wasn't the best looking name by any means. But possibly could have played it different. I just don't know how. In the heat of the moment, we felt that it was. We played it how we planned. So all you can do is look back and see how it ends up playing out and see where you could have been different, and we'll try and learn from that one. But it's not gonna hurt our day. I mean, just the first fill that we had on NVAX today pretty much covers that loss, and we got 3 fills on NVAX. with a 1024 being a dandy of a fill. Being a dandy of a fill. So I mean, there's some positives to lean back towards. And NVOS, maybe we should have just stayed with NVOS, and because it's looking like we're gonna get some extension push higher. Or it's gonna try. It's got an ascending tight channel to the upside. If this breaks, you have a reliable trend line to fall back into. But it looks like it's gonna try and take this out right now. And there we are testing up higher, and here's the 32s. So we talked about these 32s. I think with how we just played ICCT, let's just go and think about going on the ask for NVOS here. What do you think, puppy? Yeah, go out. All right, I'm gonna let my dog outside. You guys can just kind of watch and see if this NVOS breaks out. But we are gonna throw an order off these 32s for NVOS, and we're gonna start with 20% of the reload going out at those 32s. And there's a 32 fill right there. So let's see if it can break higher. It doesn't. It looks like there's some good size on these 32s, but we did get the fill, so that's a good sign. With good size on those 32s, we were able to get the 32 fill. So ring in the register, and let's just go ahead and throw one off of this 33 half, which is the body candle tops right here. So 33 half, we're gonna throw an order in off there. If we get the fill while we let the dog out, then we'll go from there. We'll do another 20% of the reload and go from there. So 33 half, and I'll be back. Whew, I'm a little out of breath. Bear with me for like 30 seconds. Whew, my dog wanted to run around. It finally cooled down a little bit. Oh my goodness, did we get that 3350 fill? Wow, 3345 top right there. Just barely missing that fill. We are going to double check and see if we got that fill. Wow, open order. I gotta go check this out. Ripley! Dogs are barking at nothing. Wow, that is a little bit unfortunate to just barely miss that fill. But you can see just marking those body tops right there. Just kind of identifying where a little bit of the selling pressure is. I still think that getting this little volume uptick right here, taking out the highs, 32 was a big level. You can see the catalyst that even if it does have to pull back in to retest, we want to see 32s hold. Is it going to be able to? I'm not sure. But looking for a possible breakout to the top end of the channel, which would be 40 cents. And here's a claim of 33s. Let's see what the tape's looking like here. Not able to take out the 33s yet. But we finally took out those 33s, now stacked on 22s. Now stacked on 33s. We'll see if those can hold. And I only see the ask is sitting at 33.47 right now, so this is a new top. We'll see if we can get this second fill on the name and start getting this profit churning back into the account. NVAX, and there is a fill. So now the next level I see is in front of these body candles. You could say the wick top right here, but it looks like we're going to take those. So let's go right in front of these 34 threes, which we're right through 34s right now. Let's take another 20% off of the reload and get back to the original position for today. So I mean, you guys seen the live trade of the reload. We just trimmed 33 halves, 21%. 21%. We're looking for next out up at 24s. I mean, this is just the reload right here. This is what we're looking for. So let's see if we can keep holding these halves. A nice second green candle. Volume is picking up significantly. Could be a decent amount of selling pressure that came in there. But a beautiful look where we got this U build right here. We're just going to respect this next top right here. We'll go 34.25s. We'll go right in front of that and see if we can get another 20% cut of the reload. So I mean, we got two fills, so we've taken out 40% of our reload here, and we'll see if we can keep getting this move higher. Kind of making up for the ICCT. Let's take a look back at that, and I would be expecting it to be breaking down. Man, that is tough looking at that. We're just off. And that sucks looking at it like this, where we were looking at those 840s. 840s was that retracement up that we were looking for, where we could have been, if we played it right, we could have waited for the false breakdown, test down closer into the body of this candle, started getting fills, and then we would have been out. I truly think that we would have played this previous flat bottom low, which it would have gave us 850s. I think we would have been out at these 840s. And we would actually probably be trying this 8 level again. That's kind of the plan that I had set up. We said that, hey, we're going to look for some sort of retest back up to these lows, which it really sucks. I mean, we get stopped out by 5 pennies. Looking back at it, this is kind of that same kind of false break to the downside that NVOS had. So maybe I gotta be a little bit more intrigued. I mean, we look back over here, this did give up our level over here. It was just closer to these bottom lows here. It's a different type of look where it gives the move down, retraces up, breaks the downtrend significantly right there. But yeah, I really think we would have been in and out of this name in a matter of and giving us that move right up to the level we're looking for. So maybe on this red move, as long as it was trading above this, we could have had our stop, which would have been deeper. We would have lost another 20 cents if we gave it down to these lows, and probably would have been giving it 50s at that point. So it's a slippery slope if we played it that way, but we would have got the move we were looking for, and then we'd be right back in, right off of this. You know, we probably would have one fill with an open order off 8. In all honesty, that's how it would probably be. But NVOS, given a rejection, it tested up to those 34s. Uh, Kind of a washout top type of look, testing up to these lows. But if you look at it from a retracement point of view, down to these wick lows, it hasn't been able to close above 33s yet. So maybe if we can get a close above 33s, you know, maybe you take this to the support level, which this is the level that's able to hold. Take this wick low. You can say a little bit higher. It could be flirting with some sort of break, where if we get over top of the wick top, you know, a nice room, and if taking this retracement, that first extension right up to the 38s or 39s. After that, looking for a channel break and full extension. Where is this 60 meet up at? Let's put a horizontal line off of this. We go back over to the daily chart, and you can see that this is the wick low of the start of the gap. So, a couple different ways of looking at it there. Now that we've had a couple more candles, let's take a look over at SOUN. We need the 15-minute. Traded down, so we got 1, 2, 3. You can see it's sort of trying to set up a flat bottom, where if it just comes down just a little bit more, we got the body candle right here, and we have the neckline made. So if we start getting a churn, that 244 could be something, but it might end up resisting it and having to trade back down, where we're then worried about that flush to bottom end of the channel. So a couple different ways of looking at it. NVAX, a clean double top. Looking at it, you know, at the time I probably would have said this isn't going to be a double top, but then you add in this sort of channel, and it's like, okay, there's a reason to expect some sort of rejection near this area. And if we go further left, you can see this is sort of the flat top, where we're expecting some resistance. So it makes sense that it's kind of pulling back in. I still think if it pulls back in the 9, you get the reject, set a flat top, break, and hold 9. You see how we break and hold 9 right there. Boom. I'm just going to mark it from right there. See how we break and hold, and then we get that churn? Well, now if we pull back in the 9s, I think that this is an area that, you know, this runs way over to the left. Flat bottom break, reject, break it, hold. Now hold again makes sense. So if it does come back in the 9, we can think about any cuts that we had today, reloading off 9, or we can be patient for the trend line. Just keep playing this channel. You know, if we looked at it as a channel, and this is the top, a little bit off in terms of a parallel channel, so not the most beautiful look, but reasonable. NVOS, let's take this off so we got a little bit better of a look. And we're on the ask here at 34.25, so let's see if that can make that push up there. And that ICCT. You never really remember the ones that you do good at. Honestly, like looking back, you never really remember the ones you do good at. You remember the ones that you do bad at. They just kind of haunt you. Not that you have nightmares for them, but uh, over the course of the day, I wasn't really thinking much about the NVOS move. I was thinking about the negatives, and I like, how can I learn more from the negatives? How can I take this scenario and know that, hey, it's possible that some buying can still come in right here. Um, Drift said totally, Rudy. I don't know. It's been a while since I've had my tape up over here on the right this whole time. So I don't know. I need to get a third monitor. That's also going to be added in. So I don't know if you're even still there. But I mean, just if you were watching this and you were talking about this, and when I was ranting about, we're going to try and learn from it. Uh, Man, these are the ones that really get you when you try and play that risk reward. If you have your out set at the proper area, the longs will protect it. And this is just a prime example of us probably having our out at the wrong area. We felt 20 cents from that 8 level was good risk reward. Uh, it just sucks. And where we got those fills in the 90s, maybe we could have said, hey, let's give it 70s, maybe even 60s, maybe even just give it the true 50. But if that ends up triggering, it's just like, man, we could have stopped out much tighter and wouldn't have lost as much money. But sometimes that is the risk that you got to add in right there. And honestly, this ad we would have been out off of 40s. That was part of the plan. Even though it pushed to 50s, maybe we didn't get everything off. But as it comes right back into 8, we would have definitely been aggressive playing this green candle where it comes all the ways back into the body. There's is it kind of exactly how we called it out. We said, hey, we're going to cut this at 40s and we're going to try and play that 8 level. And we'd be sitting another off of our reload area. We'd be sitting beautiful. It sucks looking back and seeing how we start this position at frickin' 18s up here, and we would have made out green on this move, and we would have been reloaded in and probably had maybe even a couple trims off the reload as it was pushing higher. I don't know how the 1 minute has played out, but we even could have had trims all the ways up into the 830 range, which is still the middle of that red candle move in. So pull back in. You had 5 minutes to try and play this low 8 level, and now boom, fill, and now right back in. If it comes back in the 8 again, we'd be trying the reload again. Outs underneath the low. If that low gets discredited, done. Yesterday's news. Stick a fork in it. There's a couple different ways we could have easily played this better. So it sucks to look back and have it look that way. NVAX, couple of nice green candle moves, high volume, over 500K a piece. TG got as high as 12s. Oh, no wonder why it looked like that. Oh yeah, 15 minute looks good. Increased volume, washout top, probably is a little bit concerning. Now, these are what I call double tops, and what makes it a double top is the retracement. Now, I wouldn't say it's a double top yet, but when you get these types of looks up here, I never really call these double tops. You could say, oh, see, it was a red candle, that's a double top. Well, a double top to me is something that is going to change the trend, like the overall trend, where you see this was still trading in a channel. I would say that your trend until it breaks this channel is going to be up. Until it discredits that channel, it's going to be up. Where if you look at it as a retracement, you're rejecting your last retracement. So instantly when I see it reject that last retracement, I'm thinking if this is going to be some sort of a wave pattern, you're going to get a crack of that trend line. You might catch a bid off of these lows, but then all it would take is a rejection, a crack of the lows, you retest these highs, maybe you catch a bid and reject these lows again, and you're looking for this trend all the ways back down to the gap. Sorry about that, guys. My freaking dogs are just, I could just go hug them. I'm not gonna say I'd freaking kill them. Could kill them. I'd never do that, but I'd think about it. But other than that, NVOS is gonna be the watcher. So we gotta open up this next candle. We're just gonna clear everything out. If this is gonna pan out, we're looking for a high. Take out of the highs. ICCT. We'll run through all the channel or the title names. I don't know if I would trust this to hold this sort of channel. It could easily give you the break where that 850 break would be a break of this 850 seems reasonable. NVAX, probably just gonna be a hold for me. We got the outs that we wanted. We were super patient. We got 94s, 10s or 1006 and 1024s. Could have maybe got a little piece off, but I'm okay holding this back in the nines. There's no need for us to think about trimming. And NVAX giving a move through the level, retesting of the highs. So let's go put that alert off this 30 break. If this breaks 30 cents, we can think about outs underneath 30s. TGTX gave us a significant move. Might just need to pull back into the trend line. My out is going to be the trend line, whether it's a green or a red trade. We could have had some outs in those 11s, sure. But we've been talking about this 1150 and 1175. I really want those to be my first outs for the name. So just kind of playing that accordingly. MSOS, it wasn't a title name, but we're going to try and hold this for as high as this wants to kind of push. And I would say we could have had some outs into these lows right here. So 875s, if it comes back into that, maybe in front of 9 is reasonable. ATHM, rejecting these 30s for now, but maybe it needs to pull back in. We're gonna be buying 29s. If 29s end up breaking down, my out is gonna be probably these wick lows right here. But even then, I'll probably be saying, hey, I think this is a good ad over here. It's got some good support in these 27s. It'll be interesting to see this one play out. I'm very excited to see this position end up playing out. DocuSign, we got earnings tomorrow after hours, so this will be a big watcher for me. Do I need to get any out of this going into the earnings? I'm not sure. You can see some wick tops, a little bit of selling pressure. Looking at some other names, ASTS still in the channel, so not going to panic there. SoundHound still in the channel, still holding the uptrend. We'll see. I think tomorrow could potentially be start of a day for that. Any other title names that we need to really go over? I mean, that was really it for today. Amps, we're going to keep amps on watch as long as it's in this wedge pattern. And end phase, testing the lows. Is this going to give us an opportunity to buy in the around 115s? Maybe the 110s, 113s. We'll dive deeper and really lay out where we want to end up adding this name. But if this wants to break down, we'll give it a couple days, and after it kind of settles a little bit, if there's no major price action to the downside, we are going to be buying some end phase. China names, I would say, are holding the strength for today. Looking at the Nasdaq down up almost 1.5% now. So that is a little bit concerning, but I do think looking at the NASDAQ, you are pulling into some levels. You got the previous highs. You're holding positive strength. I'm not going to bet against positive strength on the NASDAQ. So all it would take, you could say, well, it's triple topping. Well, all it would take is to take out this high and discredit that. You can see that's our last retracement. So if it does get over top of that, I would be pretty bullish. Where some of your extensions meeting up to these highs, your first extension is that high right there. Boom. So I could see the catalyst for it, but I could also see the catalyst where if it rejects that and breaks down, you probably have a decent solidifying trend line. So it could wedge. It could take all of September to really break through this. So keeping the Nasdaq on watch, I'd say if you're looking for strength, I'd say oil is your strength. It's really working through some of these retracements. You have 94 is look not out of the question. If we look at the retracement, that is also your half. So you're fighting that 382 right now. Taking out the highs, might need to pull back and just give a quick retest of these highs. But I think oil is where I would feel a little bit more confident with. But aside from that, that's going to call it for the day. We are sitting on the ask for our reload on NVOS on 34s. We'll see if 34s, 25s can come in. Just playing in front of these body candles. But if we get these to print, we think that we can print. I don't know what happened to my channel, but we think that we can keep following this channel to the upside. And where 40 into those 40s doesn't seem out of the question. Down here when it was just trading sideways, if I would have told you, hey, we're going to hold this channel and we're going to print top end of the channel, you would have called me crazy. But now it looks a little bit more possible. And yeah, we're just going to play it accordingly. In terms of some oil plays, we got Devon up here, but we have multiple oil plays. Devon, I just feel, is one that has kind of lagged a little bit. But if Devon does want to pull back in, we get a little bit of pullback with oil. Devon in the middle of this green move, 51 gap seems reasonable, and you have a little bit of downside risk. Play this channel, and that's how I'd go about it. So unless there's anything, any tickers you guys want me to take a look at before I call it today, that's gonna be it. Uh, Maybe one more name to go over. I'd say Geo. This 750 level seems interesting. It's holding good strength. Volume hasn't really picked up yet. I would expect it to continue rejecting 750. Can sevens hold? Maybe. But if it fights through those 750s, I'd say that first sort of retracement for the move to the downside is 825s. After that, you got nines. Before you know it, you could be testing up bottom of this move, kind of the flat bottom break that it had, one small wick test. Wouldn't be surprised to see this print double digits, in my humble opinion. Cannabis has been strong. Uh, I'd say the IIPR position is going to come into question if we got to show a break above these 88. This was kind of the flat bottom break it had. It reclaims it, tries to hold it again, but 1, 2, 3 tests to before it broke down. I think 88 is a line in the sand that we can really look for on IIPR. If it gets over top of that, I really don't see too many more levels besides, you gap down to this level and test it. So that's mid 90s. So mid 90s is probably going to be first trims on the name if we get it. If it pulls back down in, you probably have a solidified channel that's not half bad. So honestly, probably rejecting these 88s to 90s seems reasonable. If it pulls back into this previous top, I mean, you could think about reloads. I think I'm just going to hold it all the ways back in, probably to the trend line. And I'm going to be patient for those mid 90s. Some of these cannabis names have really been heating up. And I think the trims that I'll take will probably go off the ETF. Which, maybe we were a little bit aggressive trimming it yesterday, but we like the position that's kind of holding. We got the Nasdaq short hedge. It's trying to test top end of the channel. We looked at the Nasdaq and said the Nasdaq looks good. Well, all it would take is this Nasdaq short, reclaim that positive. Here's your fresh positive break. So your entry, you're below your entry. That's the only thing that would kind of concern me. Well, if the Nasdaq starts catching a bid, we got gap, gap, gap. So how does this level kind of hold? I would kind of be a little bit bearish on the short and bullish on the market if we got into these gaps. You can see this last one, it just wasn't able to fill it. You got to ask yourself why. So a couple different ways that we just need a little bit more information on, in my opinion. But other than that, doesn't look like we have any tickers. Dog has a nice singing voice. Yeah, he has developed a bad habit of singing. But he's still kind of a pup. We'll see how he gets when we get into the hunting season. But that's going to call it for the day, guys. I appreciate anybody who tuned in, and we'll see you same time tomorrow, probably a little bit earlier. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I normally start the stream a little bit earlier. But that's going to call it. Appreciate it. Catch you guys.